The fluorescent lights in the hallway of Morrison Heights buzzed softly as Brianna Hayes pressed her back against the wall, blocking Nathan Whitmore's path to his penthouse. She'd planned this ambush for 3 days, timing it perfectly for his return from work. Her green blouse caught the light, bright against her brown skin, and her hands shook slightly as she crossed her arms. "No," she said firmly. "You're not walking past me again." Nathan froze, his gray suit jacket slung over one arm, his blue eyes widening with something that looked like pain. For 3 months he'd been avoiding her. Ducking into stairwells, leaving early in the mornings, returning late at night. When they did cross paths, he'd nod politely and disappear before she could say more than hello. It was driving her crazy. "Brianna, he started, but his voice trailed off. "Why?" The word came out harder than she intended. "Why do you keep avoiding me? We're neighbors. We pass each other in the lobby, in the hallway, at the mailboxes. And every single time, you look at me like I'm a ghost or something." Nathan's jaw tightened. He shifted his weight, clearly calculating escape routes, but Brianna hadn't given him any. The elevator was behind her, and his apartment was at the end of the hall. He was trapped. "It's complicated," he said quietly. Then uncomplicated. Brianna took a step forward. "Because I'm tired of feeling like I did something wrong. If you have a problem with me, just say it. I'm a grown woman. I can handle honesty." The silence stretched between them like a rope pulled too tight. Nathan's shoulders sagged, and he finally met her eyes directly for the first time in months. What she saw there made her breath catch. Deep, old pain that had nothing to do with the present moment. "You want the truth?" His voice was rough, barely above a whisper. "Yes. Because looking at you hurts." The words hit Brianna like a physical blow. She stepped back, her hand instinctively moving to her chest. "What?" Nathan ran his hand through his dark hair, a gesture that tugged at something in her memory. Something old and buried. "Looking at you hurts, Brianna. Every time I see you, it feels like someone's reaching into my chest and squeezing. So I avoid it. I avoid you. It's not right, and I know it's not fair to you, but that's the truth." "But why?" Brianna's voice broke slightly. "We don't even know each other. I moved in 3 months ago. We've barely spoken 10 words to each other. How can looking at me hurt you?" Nathan's laugh was bitter, hollow. "That's just it, Bri. We do know each other." The nickname hit her like lightning. Bri. Nobody called her that anymore. Nobody except. Her knees went weak. She grabbed the wall for support, her mind racing backward through years of memories she'd carefully packed away. The shape of his face, older now but with the same strong jawline. Those blue eyes, once so full of warmth when they looked at her. The way he ran his hand through his hair when he was nervous. "Nathan." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Nathan Whitmore?" He nodded slowly, watching her face carefully. "Oh my God." Brianna felt the world tilting. "Oh my God, you look so different. Your hair is shorter and you're older," he finished. "We both are. It's been 10 years, Bri. 10 years since the worst night of her life. 10 years since the boy she loved disappeared without a word. 10 years of wondering what she'd done wrong, why he'd left, why he'd never called or written or explained. And now here he stood, just 20 feet away, living in the same building, avoiding her like she carried some kind of plague. Are you living with unresolved pain from your past? Does the thought of facing someone you once loved terrify you? Comment below and share your thoughts. And if you want to see how Nathan and Brianna's story unfolds, make sure to subscribe because you won't want to miss what happens next. "I don't understand," Brianna said, her voice shaking. "You left. You just left. After graduation you were gone. No calls, no texts, nothing. And now you're telling me that seeing me hurts you?" "It does." Nathan's voice was raw. "I know it doesn't make sense. I know I'm the one who left. But Brianna, seeing you every day, knowing you're so close but that everything's different now, it's torture. Because I remember what we were. And I remember why I had to leave." "Had to leave?" Anger sparked in Brianna's chest, hot and sharp. "You didn't have to do anything. You chose to leave. You chose to cut me out of your life completely. Do you have any idea what that did to me? I spent months thinking I'd done something wrong. Years wondering why I wasn't worth a goodbye. You didn't do anything wrong." Nathan took a step toward her, then stopped himself. "It wasn't your fault. None of it was." "Then whose fault was it?" Nathan closed his eyes. My father's. The whole messed up situation. But you were innocent in all of it." Brianna wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold despite the warm hallway. "I don't understand any of this. We haven't seen each other in a decade and you show up here in my building, and you've been avoiding me for months. Why didn't you just talk to me when you first saw me? Because I'm a coward. The admission seemed to cost him. Because seeing you brought back everything I've spent 10 years trying to forget. And because I didn't think I had the right to walk back into your life after what happened. What did happen, Nathan? Brianna's voice broke. Because I still don't know. One day we were planning our future together, talking about college and trips and all the things we were going to do. And the next day you were gone. Your phone was disconnected. Your house was empty. It was like you never existed. Nathan's hands clenched into fists at his sides. My father made me leave. He told me something about you. Something that made me think everything between us was a lie. What could he possibly have told you that would make you disappear like that? That you'd been seeing someone else. That you'd chosen another guy, someone from your college prep program, and that you were just stringing me along until graduation. Brianna felt like she'd been slapped. What? That's insane. There was never anyone else. Nathan, you were it for me. You were everything. I know that now. Nathan's voice was thick with emotion. But I was 18 and stupid and I believed him. My father was convincing. He had details, dates, places. He said he'd seen you with this other guy. And I was so hurt that I just left. I moved to California with him, threw myself into college, built my company. I tried to forget you. Did you? The question came out small, vulnerable. Nathan finally looked directly at her, and the raw honesty in his eyes made her chest ache. No, not for a single day. I compared every woman I met to you. Every relationship failed because she wasn't you. And now here you are, living 20 feet away from me, and you're even more beautiful than I remembered. And it hurts, Brianna. It hurts because I know I threw away the best thing that ever happened to me based on a lie. Tears were streaming down Brianna's face now. She didn't bother wiping them away. Your father lied? Yes. Nathan's voice was flat. I found out 5 years ago. By then, I'd convinced myself it was too late to find you to apologize. What was I supposed to say? Sorry I ghosted you for a decade because I was an idiot? You could have tried. I know, and I should have. But I was ashamed. And scared. And then 3 months ago, I moved into this building for the view and the location, and the second I saw you in the lobby. He trailed off, shaking his head. I panicked. I didn't know what to do. So I avoided you like a coward. Brianna sank down onto the floor, her back against the wall, her green blouse bunching around her. The hallway spun slightly. Nathan, after a moment's hesitation, sat down across from her, his back against his apartment door. This is insane, Brianna whispered. This whole thing is insane. I know. I thought I'd never see you again. I'd made peace with that. Sort of. Had you? Nathan asked softly. Brianna looked up at him. No, not really. Part of me always wondered. Always hoped for some kind of explanation. And now you have one. Does it help? She thought about that. Did it help to know he hadn't just stopped caring? Did it help to know his father had manipulated him? Did it help to know that looking at her caused him pain because he still felt something? I don't know, she admitted. Right now I just feel overwhelmed. They sat in silence for a long moment, the building settling around them. Somewhere above, a door closed. Below, the elevator dinged. But in their hallway, time seemed suspended. What now? Brianna finally asked. Nathan's smile was sad. I don't know. What do you want? I want to understand. I want to know what happened after you left. I want to know why you're here now. I want... She stopped, not sure she could voice the rest. You want what? I want to know if that boy I loved is still in there somewhere. Or if he's gone forever. Nathan's eyes glistened. He's in here. Older, more beat up by life, carrying a lot of regrets. But he's still here. And he never stopped. He cut himself off, but Brianna heard what he didn't say. The hallway seemed too small suddenly, the air too thick. 10 years of history pressed down on them, heavy and complicated. But underneath all of it, Brianna felt something else. Something that terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. Oh, Brianna couldn't sleep that night. She lay in her small apartment, staring at the ceiling, her mind replaying every moment with Nathan in the hallway. After their conversation, they both stood up, said awkward goodnights and retreated to their separate spaces. But nothing felt resolved. If anything, she had more questions now than before. She rolled over, reaching for her phone. 2:47 a.m. glowed back at her. With a sigh, she got up and padded to her kitchen in bare feet, making chamomile tea she didn't really want. The hot mug warmed her hands as she curled up on her second-hand couch, surrounded by the modest comfort of her life. Her apartment was small but cozy. She decorated it with bright throw pillows in maroon and blue, cheerful artwork from her students, and photos of her mother. Everything was neat and organized because on a teacher's salary she couldn't afford to replace things easily. The contrast between her space and Nathan's penthouse was probably stark, though she'd never seen inside his place. Nathan Whitmore. Billionaire. Her mind still couldn't quite wrap around it. The Nathan she remembered had been different. Younger of course but also less polished. He'd worn jeans and t-shirts, driven a beat-up truck, worked part-time at the hardware store to save money. His family had been comfortable but not wealthy. His father worked in manufacturing management, his mother had been a nurse. Middle class, stable, normal. What had happened to transform that boy into the man in the expensive suits? Brianna closed her eyes, letting herself remember. Really remember for the first time in years. 10 years ago, Meadowbrook, Georgia. Bree, come on. If we don't leave now, we'll miss the sunset. 17-year-old Brianna laughed, shoving her chemistry textbook into her backpack. Nathan, we have a test tomorrow. A test that counts for 30% of our grade. And we'll both ace it like we always do. Nathan leaned against her locker, his blue eyes sparkling with mischief. Besides, when was the last time we just hung out? Without books or studying or college applications. He had a point. Senior year had been relentless. Between AP classes, college prep, and their part-time jobs, they barely had time to breathe. But they'd made it work because they'd had each other. Best friends since middle school, dating since sophomore year, partners in everything that mattered. Fine, Brianna conceded, slinging her bag over her shoulder. But if I fail chemistry, I'm blaming you. Deal. Nathan grabbed her hand, intertwining their fingers as they walked out of Meadowbrook High. His truck was parked in its usual spot. The paint faded from red to a dusty pink, one taillight held on with duct tape. Nathan had named it Bertha, and despite its many flaws, the truck ran reliably. They climbed in and Nathan drove them to Cedar Lake, their spot since they'd first started dating. The lake was quiet in the late afternoon, the water reflecting the sky like glass. They spread out a blanket on their favorite patch of grass and lay back, shoulders touching, watching clouds drift by. 8 more weeks, Nathan said softly. Until graduation. Until freedom. He turned his head to look at her. Can you believe it? We actually made it. Brianna smiled. I can believe you made it. You're brilliant. But me? I had my doubts sometimes. Stop that. Nathan's voice was gentle but firm. You're going to Georgia State on a partial scholarship. You're going to become the best teacher that school has ever seen. And I'm going to follow you to Atlanta, work my way through tech school, and we're going to build an amazing life together. You really believe that? I know that. He rolled onto his side, propping himself up on his elbow to look down at her. Brianna Hayes, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. I'm not letting you go. Not ever. She reached up, cupping his face. Promise. Promise. He leaned down and kissed her, soft and sweet, the kind of kiss that felt like a vow. They stayed at the lake until the stars came out, talking about their dreams. Brianna wanted to teach elementary school, to help kids discover their potential. Nathan wanted to build things, create technology that solved problems. They planned road trips and adventures, an apartment in Atlanta, a life built together. It all seemed so possible, so real. 2 weeks later, everything fell apart. Brianna opened her eyes, the memory painful even after all this time. That night at the lake had been one of the last good memories she had with Nathan. After that, things got complicated. Her phone buzzed, startling her. A text from an unknown number. I know it's late. I can see your light on. Can't sleep either? Brianna's heart raced. She walked to her window and looked out. Across the way she could see Nathan's penthouse windows. One light was on, a soft glow in the darkness. She typed back, how did you get my number? Building directory. Sorry if that's creepy. A little. But I'm too tired to care. Yes, can't sleep. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Can I ask you something? Nathan's text read. Go ahead. Why did you move into this building? It's expensive. I looked up the rent for your unit. It's nearly twice what teachers make. Brianna hesitated before answering honestly. My mom got sick last year. Cancer. The treatments were expensive, and she didn't have great insurance. I took out loans to help pay for it. Then when she went into remission, she needed somewhere to live while she recovered. This building has an assisted living wing on the 3rd floor. She lives there. I live here so I can be close to her. The response came quickly. I didn't know. I'm so sorry. Is she okay now? She's better. The cancer's gone, but she's weak. She needs help with daily tasks. The facility here is good, but it's expensive. I'm making it work barely. Brianna, I can help. Let me help. She stared at the text, anger flaring. No. Why not? Because you don't get to disappear for 10 years and then buy your way back into my life. That's not how this works. Another long pause. You're right. I'm sorry. I hate thinking about you struggling. I'm not struggling. I'm surviving. There's a difference. Fair enough. But the offer stands. Always. Brianna didn't respond to that. Instead, she changed the subject. What happened after you left Georgia? This time the pause was even longer. My father took me to California. He had a job opportunity there and he convinced me we needed a fresh start. I enrolled at Stanford, threw myself into computer science. Built my first app sophomore year, sold it for enough money to drop out and start my own company. That company became Whitmore Technologies. 5 years of brutal work, barely sleeping, just building and growing. Made my first billion before I turned 28. That's incredible. Brianna meant it even though the words felt inadequate. It's empty. Nathan's response was immediate. Money doesn't fix anything, Bri. It just gives you more expensive ways to be lonely. You could have come back. You could have looked for me. I was ashamed. I believed what my father told me for so long. By the time I learned the truth, years had passed. I figured you'd moved on, found someone better. Someone who didn't abandon you. I didn't move on. Not really. Brianna typed the words before she could stop herself. What do you mean? She took a deep breath. I dated. Tried to. But nobody ever felt right. Nobody ever made me feel the way you did. So I focused on my career, on my students, on helping my mom. I built a good life. But there was always this hole. This Nathan-shaped hole that nobody else could fill. Her phone rang immediately. She answered without thinking. Brianna. Nathan's voice was rough, thick with emotion. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for what I did to you. I know. Tears rolled down her face. I can hear it in your voice. I believe you. Can we? He paused, seeming to gather courage. Can we start over? Not as who we were because that's gone. But as who we are now. Can we try to be friends at least? Brianna looked out her window at the light in his penthouse. I don't know if we can be just friends, Nathan. Why not? Because when I look at you, I don't see a stranger. I see the boy who promised me forever. And that's really hard to set aside. Silence stretched between them, filled only by their breathing. Then maybe we don't set it aside, Nathan said quietly. Maybe we acknowledge it and see where it leads. That scares me. Me too. Brianna wiped her eyes. Okay, we can try. But slowly. I need time to process all of this. Whatever you need. I've got nothing but time. They talked for another hour, filling in pieces of the missing years. Nathan told her about his company, the pressure of running a billion-dollar business, the loneliness of success. Brianna told him about her students, the joy of teaching, the challenges of making ends meet. When they finally hung up, the sky was starting to lighten. Brianna felt exhausted but also oddly peaceful. The conversation hadn't fixed anything, but it had opened a door. What lay beyond that door she didn't know. But for the first time in 10 years she felt like maybe she could find out. The next morning, Brianna dragged herself through her routine in a fog of exhaustion. She'd gotten maybe an hour of sleep after finally hanging up with Nathan, and her third-grade class was not known for being gentle with tired teachers. She dressed in a bright blue cardigan over a white shirt and black pants, pulling her hair back into a neat bun. Coffee helped slightly but not enough. As she grabbed her bag and headed for the door, she nearly jumped out of her skin when she found Nathan standing in the hallway, holding 2 coffee cups. I heard you moving around, he said, offering her one of the cups. Figured you might need this after staying up all night talking to your neighbor. Brianna couldn't help but smile, accepting the coffee gratefully. Thank you. This is really thoughtful. It's just coffee. It's more than that. She took a sip. Caramel latte, exactly how she used to drink it in high school. The fact that he remembered made her chest tight. Nathan was dressed for work too, though his work attire looked very different from hers. A charcoal suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent, crisp white shirt, dark blue tie. He looked every inch the billionaire CEO. Yet his eyes were warm when he looked at her, familiar in a way that made her ache. Do you need a ride? He asked. I saw in the building directory you work at Riverside Elementary. That's on my way. You don't have to do that. I want to. Besides, we can talk more. Get to know each other again. Brianna hesitated, then nodded. Okay. But I need to leave in 5 minutes. I'll wait. Nathan's car was predictably expensive. A sleek black Tesla that probably drove itself. Brianna settled into the passenger seat, surrounded by leather and technology, feeling distinctly out of place. This was Nathan's world now. Luxury and wealth and things she couldn't even imagine affording. Your company, Brianna said as Nathan pulled out of the parking garage. What does it actually do? We develop artificial intelligence software for businesses. Automation, data analysis, predictive modeling. Basically, we help companies work smarter and more efficiently. That sounds important. It pays the bills. Nathan's tone was wry. But it's not saving lives or teaching kids or making the world better in any meaningful way. Not like what you do. Brianna glanced at him. Teaching 8-year-olds to read isn't exactly curing cancer. No, but you're shaping the next generation. Giving kids tools they'll use for the rest of their lives. That matters, Bri. That matters more than anything I've ever built. The sincerity in his voice caught her off guard. You really believe that? I know it. I can buy anything I want, go anywhere, do anything. But at the end of the day, my work doesn't touch people's lives the way yours does. Money's just numbers on a screen. Education is transformation. They drove in comfortable silence for a few minutes, the city waking up around them. Brianna sipped her coffee and watched the familiar streets pass by, seeing them differently from the luxury of Nathan's car. Can I ask you something? Nathan said as they got closer to the school. Sure. Why teaching? I remember you talked about it in high school, but I never really understood why it was so important to you. Brianna thought back to the moment she'd decided. When I was 7, I had this teacher, Mrs. Patterson. She was the first person who made me believe I could do anything. I struggled with reading and she stayed after school with me every day for months, patient and kind until I got it. She never made me feel stupid or slow. She just believed in me until I could believe in myself. And you wanted to be that for other kids. Exactly. I wanted to be the person who sees potential in children that maybe they don't see in themselves yet. Every kid deserves at least one adult who believes in them completely. Nathan pulled up in front of Riverside Elementary, a modest brick building that had seen better days. The playground equipment was old but well maintained, and Brianna could see her colleague, Mrs. Rodriguez, greeting early arrivals at the front door. This is me, Brianna said, gathering her things. Thanks for the ride. And the coffee. Anytime. Nathan put the car in park, turning to face her fully. Brianna, I meant what I said last night. I want to be part of your life again in whatever way you'll let me. No pressure, no expectations. Just us figuring it out. I want that too. But Nathan, our lives are really different now. You live in this world of private cars and penthouses and billion-dollar companies. I live in a world of student loans and used furniture and stretching paychecks to cover my mom's medical bills. I don't know how those two worlds fit together. We'll figure it out. One day at a time. Brianna nodded, though doubt still gnawed at her. I should go. My kids will be arriving soon. Can I see you later? Maybe dinner? I have to visit my mom after work. But you could come with me? If you want to meet her? Nathan's face lit up. I'd love that. Text me the time and place. Brianna climbed out of the car, feeling the eyes of several teachers and parents on her. Small towns, even ones within big cities, loved to gossip. She could already imagine the whispers. Who was that man in the expensive car? Is Ms. Hayes dating someone? But as she walked into her classroom and saw 22 eager faces waiting for her, the outside world faded away. This was her purpose, her calling. These children with their gap-toothed smiles and endless questions and boundless potential. Good morning, everyone, she said, setting down her bag and coffee. Who's ready to learn about fractions? A chorus of groans made her laugh. Something's never changed. The rest of the day passed in a blur of lessons and playground duty and mediating minor conflicts. But in the quiet moments, Brianna's mind drifted to Nathan. She remembered his face in the hallway, the raw pain when he'd said looking at her hurt. She remembered his voice on the phone, thick with regret and longing. She remembered the way he'd looked at her in the car, like she was the only thing that mattered in his carefully constructed world. It would be so easy to fall for him again. So easy to slip back into the comfort of what they'd once had. But Brianna had learned the hard way that easy didn't mean safe. Hearts could break twice over the same person, and she wasn't sure hers could survive another shattering. After school, Brianna stopped by her apartment to freshen up before visiting her mother. She changed into a comfortable maroon sweater and jeans, redid her hair, and tried to mentally prepare herself for introducing Nathan to her mom. Janet Hayes had been Brianna's rock through everything. When Nathan disappeared, her mother had held her while she cried, never saying, "I told you so," even though she'd warned Brianna that high school relationships rarely lasted. When Brianna struggled through college, working 2 jobs while maintaining her grades, her mother had encouraged her. And when her mother got sick, Brianna had returned that support without hesitation. Now Janet lived in the assisted living wing of Morrison Heights, in a small but pleasant room that Brianna visited every day. Her mother was strong, a survivor, but the cancer had aged her. At 62 she looked 70, her once dark hair now completely gray, her frame thin despite Brianna's efforts to make sure she ate well. Brianna's phone buzzed. "Nathan, I'm in the lobby. Should I come up or wait for you?" "Come up. 3rd floor, room 312. She met him at the elevators, noting that he'd changed too. Gone was the business suit, replaced by dark jeans and a green button-down shirt that made his eyes even more striking. He looked nervous, his hands shoved in his pockets. "You okay?" Brianna asked. "I haven't seen your mom in 10 years. Last time I saw her, I was 18 and promising her I'd take care of you. Then I disappeared. I'm pretty sure she hates me." "She doesn't hate you. She doesn't even know you're back in my life yet." Brianna took his hand, surprising herself with the gesture. "Come on. She'll love you again once she gets to know the man you've become." They walked to room 312, and Brianna knocked gently before using her key. "Mom? It's me. And I brought someone to meet you." Janet Hayes was sitting in her recliner, a book in her lap, when they entered. She looked up, her eyes sharp despite her physical frailty. Those eyes widened when she saw Nathan. "Lord have mercy," Janet breathed. "Nathan Whitmore. As I live and breathe." Nathan stepped forward, his voice humble. "Hello, Mrs. Hayes. It's good to see you again." Janet set her book aside slowly, studying him with an intensity that made even Brianna uncomfortable. The silence stretched until finally Janet spoke. "You broke my daughter's heart." "I know. And I'm sorrier than I can express." "Sorry doesn't undo damage." "No, ma'am, it doesn't. But I'm here now and I'm hoping for a chance to do better. To be better." Janet's gaze shifted to Brianna. "And you're okay with this? With him being back?" Brianna nodded. "We're taking it slow. Getting to know each other again. But yes, I'm okay with it." Janet studied them both for another long moment, then patted the chair next to her. "Sit down, both of you. Tell me everything. And Nathan, you better have a damn good explanation for disappearing on my baby girl." As they settled in, Nathan began to tell the story. He explained about his father's lie, his misguided decision to leave, the years of building his company while carrying regret. He was honest about his mistakes, never making excuses, taking full responsibility for the pain he'd caused. Brianna watched her mother's face soften gradually. Janet Hayes had always been a good judge of character, and she could clearly see that Nathan's remorse was genuine. "Your father lied to you," Janet said when Nathan finished. "That's a heavy thing to carry. It doesn't excuse what I did. I should have talked to Brianna, asked her directly instead of just believing my father." "Yes, you should have. But you were 18 and scared and human." Janet reached over and patted Nathan's hand. "We all make mistakes. What matters is what you do with the second chances you get. I don't plan to waste this one." Janet smiled, and Brianna felt something loosen in her chest. If her mother could forgive Nathan, maybe it really was possible to move forward. They spent the next hour talking, catching up, sharing stories. Nathan told Janet about his company, and Janet told him about her battle with cancer. It was easy and comfortable, like finding an old photograph and remembering a good day. When visiting hours ended, Nathan and Brianna walked back to their floor together. "Your mom's amazing," Nathan said as they reached their hallway. "She's been through so much, but she's still so strong. She's my hero." Brianna stopped outside her door. "Thank you for coming with me. It meant a lot. Thank you for letting me, and for giving me this chance." Nathan hesitated, then asked, "Can I take you to dinner tomorrow? A real date, not just coffee or visiting your mom. Just us reconnecting." Brianna knew she should say no. Should protect her heart, take things even slower. But looking at Nathan, seeing the hope and vulnerability in his eyes, she couldn't make herself refuse. "Yes, I'd like that." Nathan's smile could have lit up the entire building. "I'll pick you up at 7? 7 works." They stood there in the hallway, close enough to touch but not quite touching, the air between them charged with possibility. Finally, Nathan leaned in and kissed her forehead gently. "Good night, Bree." "Good night, Nathan." As Brianna let herself into her apartment, she caught sight of her reflection in the hallway mirror. Her eyes were bright, her cheeks flushed, a small smile playing at her lips. She looked happy. Despite everything, despite the complications and the history and the fear, she looked genuinely happy. And that, more than anything, told her she was making the right choice in giving Nathan another chance. The next afternoon, Brianna was grading papers at her kitchen table when she heard the first drip. She looked up, frowning, trying to locate the source of the sound. Another drip, then another, faster now. Water was seeping through her ceiling. No, no, no. Brianna jumped up, moving her laptop and papers away from the growing wet spot. The drips became a steady stream, and within minutes, water was pouring from her ceiling like a faucet someone had left running. She grabbed her phone, calling building maintenance while scrambling to move furniture and belongings away from the deluge. The maintenance line went straight to voicemail. Of course it did. It was Saturday, and the building only had emergency maintenance on weekends. The water was spreading now, soaking her carpet, dripping onto her couch. Brianna grabbed towels, trying to contain the damage, but it was useless. This was more than a small leak. This was a full-on flood. A knock on her door made her jump. She opened it to find Nathan standing there, concern written all over his face. "I heard running water through the walls," he said. "What's going on? Pipe burst or something? I can't get maintenance. My apartment is flooding and I don't know what to do." Brianna heard the edge of panic in her own voice. "Let me call the emergency line. I have a direct number." Nathan pulled out his phone, stepping inside and surveying the damage. "Grab what you need. Important documents, electronics, anything valuable. We need to get it out of here." While Nathan spoke to maintenance, Brianna rushed around her apartment, gathering her laptop, important papers, photo albums, and a few changes of clothes. The water was ankle-deep now in her kitchen, spreading into her living room. "They're sending someone, but it'll be at least 2 hours, Nathan reported, ending his call. "The pipe is in the unit above you. They need to shut off water to that whole line." 2 hours? Brianna looked around her apartment, watching her home become a swimming pool. "Everything's going to be ruined. Come stay with me. Bring whatever you need. Once they fix the pipe and pump out the water, you can assess the damage. But right now you can't stay here." Brianna wanted to argue, to insist she could handle it herself, but the water was still rising and her belongings were getting destroyed. Pride wasn't worth losing everything she owned. "Okay. Thank you." They made several trips, ferrying boxes and bags to Nathan's penthouse. Each time Brianna stepped into his apartment, she was struck anew by the difference between their living situations. Where her place was small and modest, his was expansive and luxurious. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Modern furniture in grays and whites filled the open concept space. Art that probably cost more than she made in a year hung on the walls. But despite the obvious wealth, something about the space felt empty. There were no photos, no personal touches, nothing that said someone actually lived here rather than just occupied it. "Guest room is this way," Nathan said, leading her down a hallway. The guest room was bigger than her entire apartment, with an ensuite bathroom and a king-sized bed that looked like a cloud. "This is too much," Brianna protested. "It's just a room. I have 4 of them and I only use one. Please make yourself at home." Nathan set down the last box. "I'll go check on the maintenance crew, make sure they're handling everything." After he left, Brianna sank onto the guest bed, overwhelmed. In the span of an hour, she'd gone from contentedly grading papers to being flooded out of her home and staying in a billionaire's penthouse. Her life had become surreal. She explored the guest bathroom, finding it stocked with high-end toiletries, plush towels, and a shower that probably had more features than her car. Everything was pristine, untouched, waiting for a guest who had probably never come until now. When she emerged, she found Nathan in the kitchen, which was all marble countertops and stainless steel appliances. "Hungry?" he asked. "I was thinking of ordering dinner. I should probably check on my apartment. Maintenance says they've shut off the water and are working on the pipe. But the cleanup will take hours, maybe days. They'll need to dry everything out, check for mold, replace the carpet. You're looking at a week minimum before you can move back in." "A week?" Brianna's voice came out small. "Where am I supposed to stay?" "Here." Nathan said it like it was obvious. "I have plenty of space. You won't be in my way. And honestly, I'd feel better knowing you're somewhere safe and dry." "Nathan, I can't impose on you for a week." "You're not imposing. I'm offering. There's a difference." He pulled out his phone, showing her a takeout menu. "Now, do you still like Thai food or have your taste changed?" Brianna found herself smiling despite the situation. "Thai food is still my favorite. Pad Thai with extra vegetables and spring rolls? You remember my order?" I remember everything about you, Bree. The way he said it, simple and honest, made her chest ache. She watched him order their food, moving around his kitchen with easy confidence, and realized something important. This didn't feel wrong. Being here, in his space, accepting his help, it felt natural. Like coming home after a long journey. When the food arrived, they ate at his dining table, which could have seated 12 but held just the two of them. The city lights sparkled below, and Brianna found herself relaxing for the first time since the flood. Tell me about your company, she said. I still don't really understand what you do all day. Nathan launched into an explanation of Whitmore Technologies, his eyes lighting up as he talked about problems they were solving, innovations they were developing. He made artificial intelligence sound accessible, exciting rather than intimidating. But enough about work, Nathan said, refilling her water glass. Tell me about your students. What are they like? So Brianna told him about her class. About Miguel, who struggled with reading but had an incredible artistic talent. About Jasmine, who asked a million questions but never stopped learning. About Deshaun, who came from a tough home situation but lit up every time Brianna praised his work. You love them, Nathan observed. I do. Each one of them is special, full of potential. They just need someone to believe in them. Like Mrs. Patterson believed in you. Exactly. They talked for hours, moving from the dining table to the couch as the conversation flowed. Nathan told her about the loneliness of success, how he'd built an empire but forgotten to build a life. Brianna shared her own struggles, the constant financial stress, the fear of not being enough for her students or her mother. I can help with that, Nathan said quietly. The financial stress. Let me help you, Brianna. I told you before, I can't accept your money. Why not? I have more than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. You're working yourself to exhaustion, taking on debt for your mother's medical bills, barely making ends meet. Let me lighten that burden. Because it feels like charity. It's not charity. It's me taking care of someone He stopped himself. Someone I care about deeply. Someone who wouldn't be in this position if I hadn't left 10 years ago. My financial situation isn't your fault. Maybe not entirely. But I left you to face life alone. I should have been there, supporting you, helping carry the load. Let me do that now. Please. Brianna wanted to refuse. Her pride demanded it. But she was so tired. Tired of struggling, of choosing between buying groceries and buying new school supplies for her classroom, of lying awake at night doing mental math trying to figure out how to afford her mother's next medical bill. And the story's theme echoed in her mind. Kindness, hope, and love should lead. Offers should be accepted with gratitude. Okay, she said softly. But within reason. I don't want you to just throw money at me. I want to maintain my independence, my ability to take care of myself. Of course. Whatever boundaries you need. Nathan looked relieved. How much is your mother's medical debt? Nathan. Humor me. How much? Around $40,000. Plus the assisted living costs each month. Nathan pulled out his phone, typing something. Done. It's paid. All of it. What? No, that's. Brianna's protest died as Nathan showed her his screen. A payment confirmation for $40,000 to the medical center that had treated her mother. Nathan, that's too much. It's a rounding error in my bank account, Brianna. Literally. I make that much in interest in a day. But to you, it's freedom from stress and worry. Let me give you that. Tears filled Brianna's eyes. She carried that debt for over a year, watching it grow with interest, feeling it weigh her down. And Nathan had just erased it with a few taps on his phone. I don't know what to say. Say thank you and let yourself breathe for the first time in a year. Thank you. Brianna wiped her eyes. Thank you so much. You have no idea what this means. I think I do. Nathan moved closer on the couch, taking her hand. I've spent 10 years making money I don't need, building a company that never felt like enough. But this? Helping you? This feels right. This feels like my money actually matters. They sat there, hands linked, and Brianna felt something shift. A wall she'd kept up around her heart started to crumble. Nathan had hurt her once, but he was trying so hard to make it right. And more importantly, he was showing up. Not just with money, but with presence, with care, with genuine desire to be part of her life. I'm scared, she admitted. Scared of letting you in and getting hurt again. I'm scared too. Scared of messing this up, of not being what you need. But Bree, I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you. These past 10 years taught me that. Brianna leaned her head on his shoulder, feeling the steady rhythm of his breathing. Outside, the city hummed with life. Inside, in this moment, everything felt possible. One day at a time, she said. One day at a time, Nathan agreed. Starting with tonight. Stay here in the guest room. Let yourself be taken care of. And tomorrow we'll figure out the next step. Okay. They sat there for a while longer, comfortable in the silence, until Brianna started yawning. Nathan walked her to the guest room, making sure she had everything she needed. Good night, Bri. Sleep well. Good night, Nathan. As Brianna climbed into the impossibly comfortable bed, surrounded by luxury she'd never experienced, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Safe, cared for, hopeful. Maybe second chances were real. Maybe broken things could be mended. Maybe, just maybe, the boy she'd loved and the man he'd become could find their way back to each other. With that thought, Brianna closed her eyes and slept peacefully for the first time since Nathan had walked back into her life. Brianna woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the smell of coffee. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then memory flooded back. The flood. Nathan's penthouse. The medical debt paid off. She grabbed her phone. 8:47 a.m. Sunday morning. And she was in Nathan Whitmore's guest room. After a quick shower in the luxurious bathroom, Brianna dressed in jeans and a red t-shirt she'd grabbed from her apartment yesterday. She followed the coffee smell to the kitchen, where Nathan stood at the stove cooking breakfast. He wore sweatpants and a worn Stanford t-shirt, his hair messy from sleep. He looked younger like this, more like the Nathan she'd known in high school. Less billionaire, more just Nathan. Morning, he said, smiling when he saw her. I'm making pancakes. Still your favorite? You're making me breakfast? Well, you're my guest. And I happen to remember that Sunday morning pancakes were kind of our thing. He flipped a pancake expertly. I've gotten pretty good at it over the years. Living alone, you either learn to cook or eat takeout every day. Brianna poured herself coffee, watching Nathan cook. It felt surreal and normal at the same time. Did you hear anything about my apartment? Maintenance called earlier. The pipe is fixed, but the damage is significant. They're bringing in industrial dryers today. You're looking at least a week before it's livable again. Maybe longer if there's mold. A week in your guest room. You sure you're okay with that? Nathan plated pancakes and brought them to the counter where they could sit on bar stools. I'm more than okay with it. I like having you here. They ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes. The pancakes were perfect, fluffy and golden, just like Nathan used to make them at his mother's house all those Sunday mornings. Nathan, Brianna said carefully, last night you paid off my mother's medical debt. That was incredibly generous, but it got me thinking about something. What's that? Your father. The lie he told. Have you talked to him about it since you found out the truth? Nathan's jaw tightened. No. I haven't spoken to my father in 3 years. Why not? Nathan set down his fork, staring at his plate. When I found out he'd lied about you, I confronted him. He didn't even try to deny it. He said he did it for my own good, that you would have held me back, that I needed to be free to become successful. That's horrible. It gets worse. He said he'd do it again. That he had no regrets because look at what I'd become. A billionaire. Successful beyond measure. He thought the ends justified the means. Nathan's voice was bitter. I told him I'd trade every dollar I'd made to have those 10 years with you back. He laughed. Said I was being naive, that I'd thank him eventually. And you haven't talked to him since? No. He's called, emailed, even showed up at my office once. But I can't. I can't forgive what he did. He didn't just lie to me. He stole my future with you. He took away my choice. Brianna reached across the counter, taking Nathan's hand. Have you considered that maybe he needs to hear how much he hurt you? That maybe there's healing in confrontation? I don't want to heal that relationship. He doesn't deserve it. Maybe it's not about what he deserves. Maybe it's about what you need to move forward. Brianna squeezed his hand. I'm not saying you have to forgive him or have a relationship with him. But carrying all this anger, it's heavy. Maybe facing him one more time with me there could help you set it down. Nathan looked at her, surprise in his eyes. You do that? Face the man who lied about you. If it would help you, yes. Because Nathan, you can't build a new future while you're still chained to the past. And whether you like it or not, your father is part of that past. Nathan was quiet for a long moment, processing. Finally he nodded. Okay. If you're willing to be there, I'll arrange a meeting. But I can't promise it will go well. I'm not expecting miracles. I'm just expecting truth. 2 days later, Brianna found herself sitting in Nathan's home office, waiting for his father to arrive. Nathan paced by the windows, nervous energy radiating from him. It's not too late to cancel, he said for the third time. We're doing this. You need closure, and I need to understand what happened from his perspective. The doorbell rang. Nathan took a deep breath and went to answer it. Richard Whitmore looked older than Brianna expected. She'd only met him a few times in high school and he'd seemed intimidating then. Tall, stern, always in a suit. Now he was gray-haired and slightly stooped, though he still wore a suit. His eyes widened when he saw Brianna. Miss Hayes. I wasn't expecting you to be here. Mr. Whitmore. Brianna kept her voice neutral. Please sit down. They settled into Nathan's living room, an awkward triangle. Nathan sat beside Brianna on the couch, a united front. Richard took an armchair, looking between them with obvious discomfort. I assume this isn't a social visit, Richard said. No, Nathan replied. We want to talk about what you did 10 years ago. Richard sighed. Nathan, we've been over this. I did what I thought was best for you. Best for me? Nathan's voice rose. You lied to me. You told me Brianna was cheating on me. You manufactured evidence, manipulated me into leaving the best thing that ever happened to me. How was that best for me? Look at what you've achieved. You're a billionaire. You've built an empire. Would you have done that if you'd stayed in some small Georgia town with your high school girlfriend? Brianna spoke before Nathan could respond. Mr. Whitmore, can I ask you something? Richard turned to her, surprised. Go ahead. Do you love your son? Of course I do. Then how could you hurt him like this? How could you take away his agency, his right to make his own choices about his future? Brianna kept her voice calm but firm. You saw Nathan and me together. You knew we loved each other. And you destroyed that based on what you thought was best, not what Nathan wanted. I wanted him to reach his potential. He could have done that with me. Brianna felt Nathan take her hand, squeezing gently. Love doesn't limit people, Mr. Whitmore. It lifts them up. Nathan would have been successful anyway because he's brilliant and driven. But he would have been happy too. Instead, he spent 10 years building a fortune but feeling empty inside. She's right, Dad. Nathan's voice was steady now. I have everything money can buy and none of it matters. Every achievement felt hollow because I didn't have Brianna to share it with. I compared every woman I met to her. No relationship worked because I couldn't let go of what we had. Richard looked down at his hands. I thought I was protecting you. From what? From happiness? From love? Nathan shook his head. You were protecting your own ego. You wanted a successful son you could brag about. You didn't care what I wanted or needed. That's not fair. It's completely fair. Nathan stood, beginning to pace again. You know what the worst part is? I believed you. For years, I believed that Brianna had betrayed me. I carried that hurt, that anger. And when I finally learned the truth, I felt like an idiot. Like I'd wasted the best years of my life over a lie. I'm sorry you feel that way. Feel that way. Nathan's laugh was harsh. That's not an apology. That's you being sorry I'm upset, not sorry for what you did. Brianna watched Richard's face, seeing guilt and pride warring there. He was a man who didn't like being wrong, who couldn't easily admit mistakes. But underneath, she could see genuine regret trying to surface. Mr. Whitmore, she said gently, I'm not here to attack you. I'm here because Nathan and I are trying to build something together, and we can't do that while this hurt sits between you and your son. He needs real closure. A real apology. Not because you deserve forgiveness, but because he deserves peace. Richard looked at her, really looked, and something in his expression shifted. You always were too good for me to understand. Even in high school, when Nathan would talk about you, I couldn't understand what he saw. A teacher's daughter from a modest family. No wealth, no connections. Just kindness and intelligence and love. Dad. Let me finish. Richard held up a hand. I was wrong. I see that now. I thought success meant money and power and status. But looking at my son, seeing how empty he's been despite everything he's achieved, I understand that I robbed him of something more valuable. I robbed him of love. Tears filled Richard's eyes. Nathan, I'm sorry. I'm truly deeply sorry. I thought I was doing right by you, but I was doing right by my own narrow vision of success. You're right. I wanted a son I could brag about. I wanted to tell people about your billions and your company. I never stopped to ask if you were happy. Nathan sat down heavily, like his legs wouldn't hold him anymore. Why couldn't you have said this 3 years ago when I confronted you? Pride. Stubbornness. The same character flaws that led me to lie in the first place. Richard leaned forward. But seeing you now, with Brianna, seeing the way you look at her, I can't deny the truth anymore. You love her. You've always loved her. And my lie cost you both a decade. Yes, it did. Can you forgive me? Nathan looked at Brianna, searching her face for guidance. She gave a small nod, encouraging. I don't know if I can forget, Nathan said slowly. And I don't know if our relationship can ever be what it was. But Dad, I don't want to carry anger anymore. It's exhausting. So yes, I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I need to let it go. Richard stood, crossing to the couch. He held out his hand to Nathan, who looked at it for a long moment before standing and pulling his father into a hug instead. Both men's shoulders shook with silent tears. Brianna felt her own eyes fill. This was healing, messy and imperfect, but real. This was what happened when truth met forgiveness. When father and son finally separated, Richard turned to Brianna. Ms. Hayes, can you forgive an old fool who didn't know better? You can call me Brianna. And yes, I forgive you. She stood, shaking his hand. But Mr. Whitmore, you should know something. I'm not going anywhere this time. Nathan and I are rebuilding what you tried to destroy. And this time, nothing is going to stop us. Richard smiled, genuine warmth in it. Good. That's as it should be. And Brianna, if it means anything, I'm glad Nathan found his way back to you. After Richard left, Nathan and Brianna stood at the windows watching the city below. Thank you, Nathan said quietly. For pushing me to do that. For being there. For being you. That's what people who love each other do. They help each other heal. Nathan turned to face her. You said love. I did. Brianna met his eyes steadily. Because Nathan, I never stopped. 10 years, dozens of failed dates, a whole lifetime in between, and I never stopped loving you. I tried. God knows I tried. But you're it for me. You always have been. Brianna. Nathan cupped her face gently. I love you. I've loved you since we were 15 years old. I loved you when I left, even though I thought you'd betrayed me. I loved you while I built my company. I loved you every day for 10 years, even when I thought I'd never see you again. And I love you now more than ever. He leaned down slowly, giving her time to pull away. But Brianna didn't pull away. She rose on her toes, meeting him halfway, and when their lips touched, it felt like coming home. The kiss was soft and sweet and full of 10 years of longing. When they finally separated, both were smiling through tears. So where do we go from here? Brianna asked. Forward. Together. One day at a time. Nathan pulled her close, resting his chin on top of her head. No more running. No more avoiding. Just us, figuring out this second chance we've been given. I like the sound of that. They stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, watching the sun set over the city. The past was finally settled. The future stretched before them, full of possibility. And for the first time in 10 years, both Brianna and Nathan felt truly, completely whole. If you're enjoying Brianna and Nathan's journey, don't forget to subscribe and comment your thoughts below. Have you ever gotten a second chance with someone from your past? Share your story, we'd love to hear it. The next morning, Brianna woke to find a note slipped under her guest room door. Had to go to an early meeting. Didn't want to wake you. Help yourself to anything in the kitchen. I'll be back around noon. We need to talk about something important. And, curious about what warranted the mysterious note, Brianna got dressed and made herself breakfast. She'd been staying in Nathan's penthouse for almost a week now. Her apartment was still being repaired, but honestly she didn't mind. Living with Nathan had been easier than she'd expected. Comfortable in a way that felt natural despite the years apart. Her phone rang. It was Principal Henderson from Riverside Elementary. Good morning, Miss Hayes. Sorry to call on a Sunday. No problem. Is everything okay? More than okay. I just received the most extraordinary call from someone at Whitmore Technologies. Apparently, they want to donate 50 new computers to our school, along with educational software and IT support for the whole year. Do you know anything about this? Brianna's heart swelled. Nathan. Of course it was Nathan. I might have mentioned that we needed updated technology, she said carefully. Well, whatever you said worked. This is a game changer for our students, Brianna. We've been running on ancient equipment for years. These new computers will give our kids access to resources they've never had before. After hanging up, Brianna sat on Nathan's couch, overwhelmed. He hadn't just helped her with her mother's bills. He was helping her students, her school, the children she cared about so deeply. This was more than money. This was understanding what mattered to her and supporting it. When Nathan returned around noon, Brianna was waiting. She launched herself at him the moment he walked through the door, wrapping her arms around his neck. Thank you, she said against his shoulder. For the computers. For thinking of my students. For caring about what I care about. Nathan hugged her back, smiling. Principal Henderson called you? Yes. Nathan, that's going to change everything for those kids. Some of them don't have computers at home. Now they'll have access to technology, to learning resources, to a whole world they couldn't reach before. I know. That's why I did it. Nathan pulled back to look at her. Brianna, I've spent 10 years making money and honestly, most of it just sits in accounts accumulating more money. But seeing how much your students matter to you, knowing I could make a real difference for them, that felt good. It felt meaningful. You're a good man, Nathan Whitmore. I'm trying to be. For you. He took her hand, leading her to the couch. Which brings me to what I wanted to talk about. I have a proposal for you. A proposal? A business proposal. Nathan pulled out his tablet, showing her a presentation. I want to start a nonprofit foundation focused on education in underserved communities. New computers, updated textbooks, teacher grants, after-school programs, the whole package. And I want you to run it. Brianna stared at the screen, seeing detailed plans for something called the Hayes Whitmore Educational Foundation. Nathan, I'm a teacher, not a nonprofit director. You're someone who understands what schools need because you live it every day. You know the challenges, the gaps, the ways kids fall through cracks because resources aren't available. Nathan's eyes were bright with enthusiasm. I have the money to fund this. You have the passion and knowledge to make it work. Together we could help thousands of kids. This is. Brianna scrolled through the presentation, seeing budgets for multiple schools, scholarship programs, teacher training initiatives. This is huge. This would be a full-time job. Yes. Which means you'd have to leave teaching. Brianna looked up sharply. I can't leave my kids. You wouldn't be leaving them. You'd be helping them and thousands of others on a bigger scale. Nathan squeezed her hand. Brianna, you're an amazing teacher. Those 22 third graders are lucky to have you. But imagine if you could impact 200 schools. 20,000 students. Hundreds of teachers who need support and resources. I don't know if I can do that. I know you can. You're the smartest, most dedicated person I know. You care about education more than anyone I've ever met. This foundation could be your legacy, Bri. The thing that changes lives for generations. Brianna felt pulled in two directions. Part of her loved the idea of having that kind of impact, of helping more than just her small classroom. But another part of her couldn't imagine leaving Riverside Elementary, leaving her students, leaving the daily joy of teaching. Can I think about it? She asked. Of course. Take all the time you need. But Brianna, I need you to know something. This isn't me trying to control you or change you. If you want to keep teaching, I'll support that completely. This is just me offering options, opportunities. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. Thank you. Brianna kissed his cheek. For understanding. For not pushing. For giving me this incredible opportunity even if I might say no. That's what partners do, right? Support each other's dreams, even if they're different from our own. The word partners hung in the air between them, weighted with meaning. They were partners now or trying to be. Building something together after so many years apart. Speaking of support, Nathan said, I have something else to show you. He switched to a different file on his tablet. I've been looking into your mother's ongoing care costs. The assisted living facility is good, but there's a better one across town. Better medical staff, more activities, private rooms with kitchenettes. I'd like to move her there and cover the costs. Nathan, you already paid her medical debt. I can't let you pay for her living expenses too. Why not? Brianna, the cost is nothing to me. Literally nothing. But to you and your mother it would mean better care, more dignity, less stress. Please let me do this. Brianna thought about the story's theme again. Kindness should be received with gratitude. Offers of help should be accepted. She was learning to let Nathan support her, to trust his generosity rather than letting pride get in the way. Okay, she said softly. But I want to be involved in choosing the facility. And I want to tell my mother myself, make sure she's comfortable with the move. Absolutely. We'll visit places together, let her decide where she wants to be. Nathan pulled her close. I just want to take care of you both. Let me do that. They spent the rest of the afternoon researching care facilities, making lists of places to visit. When they finally looked up, the sun was setting, painting the city in golds and oranges. I should probably check on my apartment, Brianna said. See if it's livable yet. The maintenance supervisor said probably another 3 days. But Bree, you don't have to leave when it's ready. You can stay here as long as you want. I can't live in your guest room forever. Then don't live in the guest room. Live in my room. With me. Nathan said it simply, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Brianna's heart raced. Nathan. I love you. You love me. We've wasted 10 years already. I don't want to waste another day playing it safe or taking things slow just because that's what we're supposed to do. Nathan cupped her face gently. Move in with me. For real. Let's build a life together. That's a big step. I know. And if you're not ready, I understand. But Brianna, I'm 32 years old and I've never been surer of anything. You're it for me. You always have been. Brianna thought about her small apartment with its second-hand furniture and constant stress about rent. Then she thought about Nathan's space, which had felt more like home in a week than her own place had in a year. But more than the physical space, she thought about waking up with Nathan, falling asleep beside him, building a life together day by day. Yes, she said. I'll move in with you. Nathan's face lit up with pure joy. He lifted her up, spinning her around, both of them laughing. When he set her down, he kissed her thoroughly, and Brianna felt happiness bubble up inside her like champagne. They were really doing this. After everything, after 10 years of heartbreak and loneliness, they were getting their second chance. And this time, nothing would tear them apart. Over the next few days, they fell into an easy routine. Nathan adjusted his work schedule to spend more time with Brianna. They visited care facilities with Janet, who eventually chose a beautiful place called Sunrise Manor. Brianna helped Nathan understand the nonprofit foundation idea better, and slowly she started to see the potential impact they could have. One evening, Nathan came home from work to find Brianna cooking dinner in his kitchen. She'd made her grandmother's recipe for pot roast, and the smell filled the penthouse with warmth. Is this what coming home will be like now? Nathan asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind as she stirred gravy. If you're lucky. Brianna leaned back against him. I like cooking. And you have the most amazing kitchen I've ever seen. It seemed wrong not to use it. I can't remember the last time someone cooked for me. Well, get used to it. Part of my contribution to this household is feeding us real food instead of takeout every night. They ate dinner at the dining table, actually using it for its intended purpose instead of just as a surface to stack mail. Brianna told Nathan about her day visiting Riverside Elementary, how the new computers had already been installed and the kids were thrilled. Miguel spent his entire lunch period on the art software, she said, smiling at the memory. He created this amazing digital painting of his family. Principal Henderson says we should print it and frame it for the school. We could do more than that, Nathan said. We could create a digital art program, get the kids' work displayed in galleries, maybe even sell some pieces to fund other school programs. You're serious? Completely. Kids have talent. They just need opportunities to develop it and platforms to showcase it. Why not give them both? Brianna reached across the table, taking Nathan's hand. This is why I'm falling in love with you all over again. You see problems and immediately think about solutions. You see potential everywhere. I learned that from you. You've always seen potential in people, even when they can't see it in themselves. After dinner, they settled on the couch with wine, talking late into the night. Nathan told her about a new AI project his company was developing. Brianna shared her worries about one of her students who seemed to be struggling at home. What if the foundation could provide family support services too? Nathan suggested. Not just help for kids at school but resources for their parents. Job training, counseling, financial literacy classes. You're really passionate about this. I am. Because for the first time in my career, I'm working on something that matters beyond profit margins. You make me want to be better, Bri. You make me want to use what I have to actually help people. Later, as they got ready for bed, Nathan in the master bedroom and Brianna still in the guest room, Nathan stopped her in the hallway. You know you don't have to sleep in there anymore, right? I meant what I said about you moving in. That includes my bed. Brianna smiled. I know. But I want to do this right. I want us to be sure. I am sure. I know you are. But I need a little more time. Is that okay? Of course it's okay. Nathan kissed her forehead. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. But that night, lying in the too big guest bed, Brianna realized she didn't need more time. She was sure to. Sure of Nathan, sure of their love, sure of their future together. Tomorrow, she decided. Tomorrow she'd tell him she was ready to take that next step. For tonight, though, she fell asleep smiling, dreaming of all the tomorrows to come. Brianna spent Saturday morning packing up the last of her belongings from her now repaired apartment. The landlord had done a good job with the restoration, but standing in the empty space, Brianna felt no attachment to it. This had never really been home. It had been a place to sleep, a way station between her past and whatever came next. Now she knew what came next. Nathan. A life built together. Real home. She was loading the final box into Nathan's car when her phone rang. An unknown number. Hello? Brianna Hayes? A woman's voice, professional and crisp. Yes. This is Amanda Chin from the Georgia State Department of Education. I'm calling because your name came up in our search for candidates for a new position we're creating. Do you have a few minutes to talk? Brianna's curiosity piqued. Of course. We're launching a statewide initiative to improve education in underfunded schools. We need a director of curriculum development, someone who understands both the theoretical side of education and the practical realities of teaching in challenging environments. Your principal, Mrs. Henderson, recommended you highly. I'm flattered, but I'm actually considering a different position right now. With the Hayes Whitmore Foundation? Yes, we're aware of that. In fact, that's part of why we're calling. We'd like to partner with your foundation. Combine state resources with private funding to create real, lasting change across Georgia. Brianna's mind raced. That sounds incredible. But I haven't even accepted the foundation position yet. Perhaps we could meet? Discuss possibilities? I think you'll find our vision aligns well with what you and Mr. Whitmore are planning. They scheduled a meeting for Tuesday. When Brianna hung up, she stood in her empty apartment, overwhelmed by how quickly her life was changing. 2 weeks ago, she'd been a struggling teacher barely making ends meet. Now she was being courted for positions that could impact education across the entire state. Back at the penthouse, Nathan was in his home office on a video call. Brianna waved, not wanting to interrupt, and started unpacking her boxes. She was arranging her books on a shelf when Nathan came up behind her. That's a good look on you, he said. What is? Your things mixed with mine. Your books next to my books. Your life blending with my life. He wrapped his arms around her waist. It feels right. Brianna leaned back against him. Nathan, I got a call today. From the State Education Department. She explained the phone call, the job offer, the possibility of partnering the foundation with state resources. Nathan listened intently, asking questions, clearly excited. This is exactly what the foundation needs, he said. State backing would give us credibility, access to more schools, ability to implement programs at scale. But it would also mean more oversight, more bureaucracy, less freedom to just do what we think is right. True. But Bree, you've always said change happens when passionate people work within systems to transform them. This could be your chance to do that. What if I'm not qualified? What if I fail? Nathan turned her to face him. You won't fail. You're brilliant, dedicated, and you care more about these kids than anyone I've ever met. But even if you did fail, even if things didn't work out perfectly, at least you'd have tried. That's more than most people ever do. Brianna kissed him. How did you get so wise? I learned from the best. He smiled. Now I have something to show you. Close your eyes. Nathan, what are you doing? Trust me. Close your eyes. Brianna obeyed, letting Nathan lead her somewhere. She heard a door open, then Nathan's voice. Okay, open them. They were standing in what had been a spare bedroom. But now it had been transformed. A beautiful desk sat by the window with a top-of-the-line computer and dual monitors. Bookshelves lined one wall, already stocked with education texts and resources. A comfortable chair in maroon fabric sat in the corner, perfect for reading. Art from her classroom hung on the walls, bright and cheerful. I figured if you're going to run a foundation from home, you need an office, Nathan said. I had everything moved in while you were at your apartment. Do you like it? Brianna walked around the room, touching things, tears streaming down her face. Nathan, this is perfect. This is more than perfect. I wanted you to have your own space. Somewhere that's completely yours, where you can work and think and create. She turned to face him, overwhelmed by his thoughtfulness. I love it. And I love you. So much. I love you too, Bree. Nathan pulled her close. And I want you to know, whatever you decide about the foundation, about the state job, about any of it, I support you. Your dreams are my dreams now. They stood there in her new office, holding each other, and Brianna felt her last hesitations fall away. She was ready. Ready to take the next step, ready to build this life with Nathan, ready to stop holding back out of fear. Nathan, she said softly, I don't want to sleep in the guest room anymore. He pulled back to look at her. No. I want to be with you. All the way. No more holding back, no more taking it slow. I'm ready. Nathan's smile was brilliant. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. He kissed her then, deep and passionate, and Brianna felt like she was finally home. Not in a place, but in his arms, in his heart, in the life they were building together. That evening they had dinner with Janet at Sunrise Manor. The new facility was beautiful, with spacious rooms and attentive staff. Janet seemed happier than Brianna had seen her in months. "So," Janet said over dessert, looking between Brianna and Nathan with knowing eyes, "when are you two going to make this official?" "Mom," Brianna protested, blushing. "What? I'm your mother. I'm allowed to ask. You're living together, you're clearly in love, you've been given a second chance that most people never get. What are you waiting for?" Nathan laughed. "Mrs. Hayes, you're very direct. I'm old and I've beaten cancer. I don't have time for subtlety." Janet reached across the table, taking both their hands. "I'm happy for you too. Truly happy. And I want you to know, Nathan, I'm grateful for everything you've done. For me, for Brianna, for giving my daughter back her smile. You don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do. Because for a year, I watched my baby girl work herself to exhaustion, worried sick about money and my health and making ends meet. And now I watch her bloom. That's because of you." "It's because we found each other again," Nathan said. "I'm the lucky one here." After dinner, Nathan drove Brianna back to the penthouse. Their home now, she reminded herself. Not his place where she was staying. Their home. As they got ready for bed, Brianna felt nervous butterflies. This was different from sleeping alone in the guest room. This was sharing space, sharing intimacy, sharing everything. Nathan seemed to sense her nervousness. "We don't have to do anything you're not ready for," he said gently. "We can just sleep. Together in the same bed, but just sleep." "I want more than sleep," Brianna said. "I want you. All of you. I want to start our life together properly. Then come here." She did, and Nathan held her close, and for the first time in 10 years, Brianna felt completely whole. Like all the broken pieces had finally been put back together, better and stronger than before. Later, wrapped in Nathan's arms in the darkness, Brianna spoke softly. "I've decided about the foundation." "Yeah. I'm going to do it. Accept the director position, meet with the state education department, try to make this work on a bigger scale. It scares me, but it also excites me. And I think it's what I'm meant to do." "I think so too." Nathan kissed the top of her head. "You're going to change the world, Brianna Hayes. We're going to change it together." "Together," Nathan agreed. "I like the sound of that." They fell asleep tangled together, two people who'd been apart for too long finally finding their way back to each other. The past was settled, the present was full, and the future stretched ahead, bright with possibility. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new decisions, new adventures. But tonight they had this. Love, trust, and the deep peace that comes from being exactly where you're meant to be. The meeting with Amanda Chin from the State Education Department went better than Brianna could have hoped. Amanda's vision for transforming Georgia's education system aligned perfectly with the Foundation's goals. By the end of the week, they'd hammered out a partnership agreement that would allow the Hayes Whitmore Foundation to work directly with 50 underserved schools across the state. "This is real," Brianna said to Nathan that night, staring at the signed contracts. "We're actually doing this." "You're doing it? I'm just providing the funding." Nathan wrapped his arms around her from behind as she sat at her new desk. "You're doing so much more than that. You're believing in me, supporting me, making this possible. Because I love you. And because this matters." Nathan turned her chair to face him. "Speaking of things that matter, I have something to ask you." "Okay. Not here." He pulled her to her feet. "Come with me." Nathan led her to the elevator, then to the rooftop of their building. Brianna had never been up here before. It was stunning, with a garden area, comfortable seating, and a 360-degree view of the city. The sun was setting, painting everything in oranges and pinks. Nathan guided her to a bench facing west, where they could watch the sky change colors. "Do you remember our spot at Cedar Lake?" Nathan asked. "Of course. We spent so many evenings there watching sunsets just like this. I proposed to you there. Twice, actually." Nathan smiled at the memory. "The first time we were 16. I gave you a ring from a gumball machine and asked you to marry me someday. You said yes." "I still have that ring," Brianna admitted. "In a box with all my high school memories. The second time was the night before graduation. I promised you that someday when we'd built our lives and achieved our dreams, I'd ask you properly. With a real ring and a real future to offer." Brianna's heart started pounding. "Nathan. I know it's only been a few weeks. I know some people would say this is too fast." Nathan got down on one knee, pulling a small box from his pocket. "But Bree, we've loved each other for half our lives. We've been apart for 10 years, and that was 9 years and 364 days too long. I don't want to waste another minute." He opened the box, revealing a stunning diamond ring. Simple but elegant, exactly Brianna's style. Brianna Hayes, you are my best friend, my first love, and the only future I want. Will you marry me? Tears streamed down Brianna's face. Yes. Yes, absolutely yes. Nathan slipped the ring on her finger, then stood and kissed her. The city glittered around them, witnesses to this moment, this promise, this second chance at forever. I can't believe this is real, Brianna said, staring at her ring. 2 weeks ago you were the neighbor who kept avoiding me. Now you're my fiancé. Technically, I was your fiancé 16 years ago. I'm just making it official. Nathan pulled her close. I want to do this right this time, Bri. A real wedding with all our friends and family. Your mom walking you down the aisle. A celebration of us and this love that refused to die. When? Whenever you want. Tomorrow, next year, whenever you're ready. Brianna thought about it. Soon. I don't want a long engagement. We've waited long enough. 3 months. 3 months sounds perfect. They sat on the rooftop until the stars came out, talking about wedding plans and dreams and the life they were building. Nathan told her about his vision for expanding the foundation internationally. Brianna shared her ideas for teacher training programs and student mentorship initiatives. We make a good team, Nathan said. We always did. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Brianna officially accepted the foundation director position, giving notice at Riverside Elementary. Her students threw her a goodbye party that made her cry. They'd created a book of letters, each child writing about what Ms. Hayes had meant to them. You'll always be my favorite teacher, Miguel wrote. You made me believe I could be an artist. Thank you for being patient with me, Jasmine's letter said. You never made me feel bad for asking too many questions. Brianna treasured every letter, every drawing, every heartfelt word. These children had been her world, and leaving them was harder than she'd expected. You're not abandoning them, Nathan reminded her. You're using what you learned from them to help thousands of other kids. That's a gift, not a betrayal. Nathan proposed that they visit Meadowbrook, their hometown in Georgia, to reconnect with their roots before the wedding. Brianna agreed, curious to see how the place had changed. The drive took 3 hours. As they got closer, Brianna felt nostalgia wash over her. These roads, these trees, these familiar landmarks. They passed their old high school, and Nathan spontaneously pulled into the parking lot. Want to look around? He asked. The school was unlocked for a weekend basketball game. They wandered the hallways, seeing their old lockers, their classrooms, the cafeteria where they'd eaten lunch together every day. This place looked so much bigger in my memory, Brianna said. Everything does. But the feelings are the same. Nathan took her hand. I fell in love with you in these halls, Bri. Every day I'd wait by your locker just to see you smile. Best part of my day. They walked to their old lockers, standing in the same spots they'd occupied 16 years ago. If we could go back and tell our younger selves what would happen, Brianna said, do you think they'd believe us? I think they'd be relieved. Knowing that despite everything, despite the pain and separation, we'd find our way back to each other? Yeah, I think they'd like that ending. From the school they drove to Cedar Lake. It was exactly as Brianna remembered. The same clear water, the same trees, the same peaceful beauty. They walked to their old spot, where a large oak tree provided shade. Someone had carved initials into the trunk over the years, layers of young love documented in bark. Look, Nathan said, pointing. There, faded but still visible, NW plus BH equals forever. You carved that our junior year, Brianna remembered. And I meant it. Even when I thought forever was over, even when I believed my father's lies, some part of me never stopped believing in this. Nathan touched the carving gently. In us. They spread out a blanket Nathan had brought, lying back to watch clouds drift by just like they used to. The water lapped softly at the shore. Birds called from the trees. Everything was peaceful, perfect. Tell me about the wedding, Brianna said. What are you imagining? Something meaningful but not huge. Your mom, my dad, close friends. Maybe here, actually. At the lake where we fell in love. An outdoor wedding? Why not? It's where we belong, Bri. Not in some fancy hotel ballroom. Here, where we made our first promises to each other. Brianna loved the idea. Okay, let's do it. A sunset wedding at Cedar Lake. Really? Really? You're right. This is where we belong. They spent the afternoon making plans, dreaming out loud, building their future one conversation at a time. As the sun started to set, Nathan pulled Brianna to her feet. Dance with me. There's no music. So what? We don't need music. He pulled her close, and they swayed together in the fading light, two people who'd loved and lost and found each other again. The moment felt sacred, like they were the only two people in the world. "I can't wait to marry you," Nathan whispered. "I can't wait to call you my wife, to build a family with you, to grow old together." "Me too. All of it. Everything." When they finally drove back to the city, Brianna felt settled in a way she hadn't since she was 18. The past had been reconciled. The present was full of love. And the future was theirs to write together. At home, they started seriously planning the wedding. Nathan hired an event coordinator who specialized in outdoor weddings. Brianna chose a simple white dress, elegant but not over the top. They selected readings, music, flowers. Janet was thrilled to be involved, offering opinions on everything from the menu to the decorations. Richard, Nathan's father, called to offer his congratulations and ask if he could attend. "Of course you can come, Dad," Nathan said. "You're my father. I want you there." The healing between Nathan and his father was ongoing, not perfect but real. They talked more now, carefully rebuilding trust. It would take time, but both men were committed to trying. One evening, Nathan came home with a surprise. "I found your old art teacher from high school, Mrs. Rodriguez. She's retired now, living in Meadowbrook. I asked if she'd be willing to create something special for the wedding." "What kind of something?" "You'll see. But Bree, she remembered you. Said you were one of her favorite students, always kind, always encouraging to others. She'd be honored to contribute." Life was coming together in ways Brianna had never imagined possible. The foundation was launching its first programs. The wedding was taking shape. Her mother was healthy and happy. And Nathan, her Nathan, was by her side through all of it. "How did we get so lucky?" she asked him one night as they lay in bed. "I don't think it's luck. I think it's love refusing to give up, even when everything tried to kill it." Nathan pulled her closer. "We loved each other enough to find our way back. That's not luck. That's fate." "I like that better." "Me too." They fell asleep wrapped together, ready for tomorrow and all the tomorrows to come. 3 days before the wedding, Brianna's world tilted on its axis. She was at the foundation office, meeting with Amanda Chen to finalize their partnership agreements, when her phone started buzzing incessantly. Text after text, calls from numbers she didn't recognize, notifications from social media accounts she rarely checked. "Excuse me," she said to Amanda, stepping out to check her phone. The first headline made her stomach drop. "Billionaire Nathan Whitmore's fiancée, gold digger or true love?" Below it was a photo of Brianna and Nathan at a charity gala the week before. She was wearing a green dress Nathan had bought her, smiling up at him. The caption read, "Former struggling teacher Brianna Hayes lands tech billionaire just months after moving into his building. Convenient timing or calculated move?" Brianna's hands shook as she clicked through article after article. They all said variations of the same thing. That she deliberately moved into Nathan's building to trap him. That she was using him for his money. That their whirlwind romance was suspiciously quick. That she'd gone from poverty to luxury overnight by landing a rich man. One particularly vicious piece included interviews with unnamed sources from her old apartment building, claiming Brianna had always been ambitious and calculating. Another featured quotes from someone who claimed to have gone to high school with them, saying Brianna had always been obsessed with Nathan's potential. The worst part was the photos. Someone had dug up pictures of Brianna's modest apartment, her old car, her mother's medical bills. They contrasted these with photos of Nathan's penthouse, his Tesla, his private jet. The narrative was clear. Brianna Hayes had upgraded her life by manipulating a wealthy man. Amanda found her in the hallway, staring at her phone with tears streaming down her face. "Brianna? What's wrong?" Wordlessly, Brianna showed her the articles. Amanda's expression hardened. "This is character assassination. Pure and simple. Do not let this get to you." "How can I not? They're calling me a gold digger. They're saying I'm using Nathan." Brianna's voice broke. "What if people believe this? What if Nathan believes this?" "Nathan knows you. He knows your heart. Some trashy articles aren't going to change that." But Brianna wasn't so sure. She drove home in a daze, her mind spinning. How had this happened? Who had leaked the story? And more importantly, how was she supposed to face Nathan? When she walked into the penthouse, Nathan was on the phone, his voice tight with barely controlled anger. "I don't care what your sources say. Print another word about Brianna and I'll sue you into oblivion. Do I make myself clear?" He hung up, turning to see Brianna in the doorway. "Bri, I've been trying to call you. I saw the articles. They're trash. Complete fabrication by people who don't know anything about us." Nathan crossed to her, but Brianna stepped back. "Are they completely wrong though?" Her voice was small. Nathan, I did move into your building. I'm living in your penthouse. You did pay off my mother's medical bills and set me up as director of a foundation. From the outside, it looks exactly like what they're saying. But we know the truth. Do we? Nathan, 3 weeks ago I was drowning in debt. Now I'm wearing designer clothes and living in a penthouse and marrying a billionaire. That's a pretty dramatic change. A change that happened because we love each other. Because we have history. Because we're building a life together. Nathan's jaw tightened. You can't actually be questioning this now. I'm questioning everything. What if your father was right? What if I'm not good enough for your world? What if I'm holding you back? Holding me back from what? Money? Success? Bree, I had all that and I was miserable. You make me happy. You make my life meaningful. Until the scandal damages your reputation. Until investors start asking questions. Until your company suffers because you're engaged to someone the media has labeled a gold digger. Brianna's tears flowed freely now. I love you too much to let that happen. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe we moved too fast. Maybe we should postpone the wedding, give things time to settle down. Nathan looked like she'd slapped him. You want to postpone our wedding because of what some gossip site says about you? I want to protect you. And your company. And everything you've built. I don't need protecting. I need you. Brianna, we've been through worse than bad press. We survived 10 years apart. We survived my father's lies. We can survive this. Can we? Nathan, look at what they're saying. They're tearing apart my entire life, painting me as some kind of scheming opportunist. What if our foundation donors believe it? What if schools don't want to work with us because they think I'm just a former teacher who got lucky? Then we'll prove them wrong. Together. But we don't do that by running away or postponing our life because we're scared. Brianna shook her head. I need some space. I need to think. Space? Bree, we live together. Where are you going to go? I don't know. Maybe back to my old apartment. Maybe my mom's. I can't be here right now. She started toward the bedroom to pack a bag, but Nathan caught her hand. Please don't do this. Please don't let them win. These people, whoever leaked this story, whoever's writing these articles, they want to tear us apart. Don't give them what they want. Maybe they're right though. Maybe I am out of my depth. Maybe loving you isn't enough. It's always been enough. From the moment we met, it's been enough. Nathan's voice broke. I can't lose you again. Not like this. Not over something as meaningless as bad press. Brianna pulled her hand free. I'm not saying it's over. I'm just saying I need space to process this. To figure out how to handle it. We handle it together. That's what partners do. Right now, I can't think clearly when I'm here. I'm sorry. She packed a small bag and called her mother, arranging to stay at Sunrise Manor temporarily. Nathan watched her go, helpless and heartbroken. As Brianna drove away from the penthouse, away from Nathan, she felt like she was making a terrible mistake. But the doubt had taken root. The what-ifs were too loud. And she needed quiet to think. At Sunrise Manor, Janet took one look at Brianna's face and pulled her into a hug. What happened? Brianna explained everything. The articles, the accusations, her doubts. Janet listened without interrupting, then sat her daughter down. Brianna Marie Hayes, I did not raise you to run away when things get hard. I'm not running away. I'm protecting Nathan. From what? Bad publicity? Baby, if Nathan's company can survive market crashes and economic downturns, it can survive some gossip. But can your relationship survive you abandoning him when he needs you most? I'm not abandoning him. I just need time to think. About what? Whether you love him. Whether he loves you. Because I've seen you two together, and there's no doubt in my mind about that. About whether I'm right for his world. Whether I'm holding him back. Janet sighed. Let me tell you something about being right for someone's world. Your father was a high school teacher. I was a nurse. We didn't have money or status or connections. We had love and commitment and partnership. And you know what? That was enough. It was more than enough. This is different. Nathan's a public figure. A billionaire. People scrutinize everything he does. And you're a woman who's dedicated her life to helping children. Who took on debt to save her mother's life. Who worked 2 jobs to put herself through college. You think that's something to be ashamed of? Janet's voice was fierce. Brianna, your worth isn't measured by your bank account. It's measured by your character. And you have more character than all those gossip writers combined. But what if he realizes I'm not enough? What if you realize you're more than enough and you threw it away because you were scared? The words hit Brianna hard. Was that what she was doing? Running because she was scared? Not of the press but of being happy? Of finally getting everything she'd ever wanted? Her phone buzzed. A text from Nathan, "I love you. Nothing anyone says will change that. Come home when you're ready. I'll be waiting." Brianna stared at the message, her heart aching. Home. When had Nathan's penthouse become home? When had his arms become the safest place she knew? "I messed up, didn't I?" she said quietly. "You got scared. That's human. But now you need to decide. Are you going to let fear win, or are you going to fight for your love?" Brianna knew the answer. She'd always known the answer. She grabbed her bag, kissed her mother goodbye, and drove back to the penthouse. Nathan was on the balcony when she arrived, staring out at the city. He turned when he heard her come in, hope and fear warring in his expression. "I'm sorry," Brianna said, crossing to him. "I'm so sorry. I got scared and I ran, and that was wrong. You came back. I'll always come back to you. Nathan, these articles, what people say, none of it matters. The only thing that matters is us. Our love. Our life together." Nathan pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. "I was so afraid you wouldn't come back. That I'd lost you again. You're not losing me. Not ever. I promise." Brianna looked up at him. "The wedding is still in 3 days. If you still want to marry me. I've wanted to marry you since I was 16 years old. Nothing has changed that." They stood on the balcony, wrapped in each other, and Brianna felt the fear finally release its grip. Yes, people would talk. Yes, there would be challenges. But they would face them together, and that was all that mattered. "I love you," she said. "And I'm sorry I doubted us. We're human. We're going to doubt sometimes. We're going to mess up. But we come back to each other. That's what makes this work. Always. Always." The storm had passed. The doubt had been faced and conquered. And in 3 days, Brianna would marry the love of her life, surrounded by people who mattered, at the place where their love began. Nothing and no one would stop them now. The morning of the wedding dawned clear and beautiful. Brianna woke early in the penthouse. Nathan already gone to get ready at a hotel so he wouldn't see her before the ceremony. Tradition, he'd said with a smile. Janet arrived with hair and makeup people Nathan had hired. As they worked, transforming Brianna into a bride, Janet held her daughter's hand. "You ready for this?" Janet asked. "I've been ready since I was 15 years old. I just had to wait for the timing to be right." The dress was perfect, simple white with delicate lace sleeves. Brianna had chosen it because it made her feel beautiful but also like herself. Not trying to be someone she wasn't, just the best version of who she'd always been. The drive to Cedar Lake felt both endless and too short. When they arrived, Brianna's breath caught. Nathan and the event coordinator had transformed their spot by the lake into something magical. White chairs arranged in neat rows, an arch covered in flowers, lanterns hanging from trees ready to light when the sun set. But what made Brianna's eyes fill with tears was the artwork. Mrs. Rodriguez, their old art teacher, had created a stunning painting. It showed Cedar Lake at sunset, and in the foreground, 2 teenagers holding hands looking at the water. Underneath, written in beautiful calligraphy, "Love that endures all things. Nathan and Brianna then and now." "It's beautiful," Brianna whispered. Guest list was small as they'd planned. Amanda Chin from the education department. Principal Henderson and a few teachers from Riverside Elementary. Some of Nathan's closest business partners. Richard Whitmore sat in the front row, tissues already in hand. And all of Brianna's students from her final class, wearing their Sunday best, waving excitedly when they saw her. Music started, a string quartet playing softly. Janet squeezed Brianna's hand. "Ready? Ready." They walked down the aisle together, Janet giving away her daughter with pride and joy. And there at the altar, looking more handsome than should be legal in a navy suit, stood Nathan. The look on his face when he saw Brianna made her heart stop. Pure love, pure joy, pure wonder. Like she was the most incredible thing he'd ever seen. "Hi," she said softly when she reached him. "Hi," he replied, taking her hands. "You're beautiful." The ceremony was simple and meaningful. They'd written their own vows, wanting every word to reflect their journey. Nathan went first, his voice steady but emotional. "Brianna, when we were kids, I loved you with my whole heart. Then I lost you and I spent 10 years learning what it meant to live without you. It was empty. Hollow. Success meant nothing without you to share it with. When you walked back into my life 3 months ago, you gave me the greatest gift, a second chance. I promise to spend every day of the rest of our lives showing you what that means to me. I promise to support your dreams, to believe in you when you doubt yourself, to be your partner in every sense of the word. I promise to love you through easy times and hard times, through certainty and doubt, through everything life throws at us. You're my best friend, my true love, my home. And I can't wait to build our forever together." Brianna was crying now, not even trying to hide it. She took a shaky breath and began her vows. "Nathan, you were my first love and my first heartbreak. When you left, I thought I'd never recover. But I did, because you taught me that I was strong enough to survive anything. And when you came back, when you looked at me in that hallway and said, 'Because looking at you hurts,' I understood. Because looking at you hurt me too. It hurt because I'd never stopped loving you and I'd convinced myself I had to. These past months have been about more than falling in love again. They've been about learning to trust, to forgive, to believe in second chances. Nathan, you make me brave. You make me believe in possibilities I never dreamed of. I promise to be your partner in every adventure. I promise to support you when life gets hard. I promise to love you exactly as you are while encouraging you to become everything you're meant to be. You're my person, Nathan Whitmore. Then, now, and always." The officiant, a judge who was a friend of Nathan's, smiled at them both. "By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Nathan, you may kiss your bride." Nathan cupped Brianna's face gently, kissing her soft and sweet and full of promise. Their guests cheered, and when they finally broke apart, both were grinning through tears. "Ladies and gentlemen," the judge announced, "I present to you Mr. and Mrs. Whitmore." Hand in hand, they walked back down the aisle as husband and wife. Their students threw flower petals, laughing and cheering. Janet was openly sobbing. Even Richard Whitmore had tears streaming down his face. The reception was held right there at the lake as the sun set, just as they'd planned. Tables were set up with simple but elegant food. Toasts were made, stories shared, love celebrated. Principal Henderson stood to speak. "I've known Brianna Hayes for 5 years, and in that time, I've watched her pour everything into her students. She never gave up on a single child. She believed in them when no one else did. And now, through the Hayes Whitmore Foundation, she's going to do that for thousands of children. Nathan, you're marrying someone truly special. Someone who changes lives just by caring." Richard Whitmore spoke next, his voice thick with emotion. "I made a terrible mistake 10 years ago. I let my pride and narrow vision cost my son the best thing in his life. But standing here today watching Nathan and Brianna finally get their happy ending, I'm grateful. Grateful they found their way back to each other. Grateful for second chances. And grateful that love can survive even the worst obstacles we put in its way." He raised his glass. "To Nathan and Brianna. May your future be as bright as the love you share." As the stars came out, Nathan led Brianna to the edge of the lake, away from the party for a moment alone. "How are you feeling, Mrs. Whitmore?" "Like the luckiest woman alive, Mr. Whitmore." She wrapped her arms around his neck. "We did it. We actually did it. Against all odds." Nathan smiled. 10 years apart, my father's lies, gossip columnists, your doubts. And we still made it. Because our love is stronger than all of it." Brianna kissed him. "I love you. I loved you when we were kids. I loved you when you were gone. I love you now. And I'll love you for the rest of our lives. That's the plan." Nathan pulled her close, and they swayed together under the stars, the lake whispering beside them, their future stretching ahead bright and full of promise. 6 months later. The Hayes Whitmore Foundation's first annual gala was a massive success. 50 schools across Georgia were now partnered with them, receiving computers, updated textbooks, teacher training, and after-school programs. They'd awarded scholarships to 30 students who otherwise couldn't have afforded college. They'd placed art therapy programs in schools in underserved communities. Brianna stood at the podium looking out at the crowd of donors, educators, and supporters, feeling overwhelming gratitude. "When Nathan and I started this foundation, we had a simple goal: to give kids the opportunities they deserve. To make sure every child has at least one person who believes in them. To provide resources that open doors instead of closing them." She smiled at Nathan, who sat in the front row beaming at her. 6 months in, I'm proud to say we're doing that. But we're not done. We won't be done until every child in this state, in this country, has access to quality education and the support they need to reach their full potential. The crowd applauded. Amanda Chin stood and announced that the state was expanding their partnership, adding 50 more schools to the program. More applause, more excitement, more possibility. After the gala, Nathan and Brianna went home to their penthouse. Home, Brianna thought. This place that had once felt so foreign was now full of their life together. Photos from their wedding. Art from her students. Books they'd read together. Evidence of a life being built day by day. "I'm proud of you," Nathan said as they got ready for bed. "You've transformed children's lives in 6 months. Imagine what you'll do in 6 years. We've done it together. None of this works without you. We make a good team. The best team. Brianna paused, nervous about what she was about to say. Nathan, I have something to tell you. He turned to her, concerned by her tone. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Everything's right actually. I'm pregnant. Nathan's face went through a dozen emotions in seconds. Shock, joy, wonder, excitement. You're pregnant? We're having a baby? We're having a baby. I just found out today. I wanted to tell you at the perfect moment, and tonight, after everything we've accomplished, it felt right. Nathan lifted her up, spinning her around, both of them laughing and crying at the same time. We're having a baby. Oh my God, Brianna, we're going to be parents. Are you happy? Happy? I'm ecstatic. Terrified but ecstatic. He set her down carefully like she might break. A baby. Our baby. A little person who's half you and half me. Who's going to have your intelligence and hopefully my patience. Who's going to have your kindness and hopefully my drive. Nathan placed his hand gently on her still flat stomach. Thank you. For this, for everything, for the life we're building. Thank you for finding your way back to me. For loving me enough to never give up. They stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, thinking about the future. A baby on the way. A foundation changing lives. A love that had survived everything and come out stronger. This was their happy ending. Their second chance. Their forever. And it was absolutely perfect.